Tony, what are we doing today?
Shocks.
Shocks.
Shocking.
Shocking. And ski rubbers. We'll show you those. But
So I think the plan is, so I'm going to do a little bit of experimenting this year with suspension. I know the stock is not stiff enough for this big boy. So,
hey, just more to love.
I think what we're going to do right now is we're going to play musical shocks. We take the 146 air shocks. I'm going to start with those this year. And then we're going to take the Rasmussen shocks and put those on there. And then I'll have a full Rasmussen setup. And then for the rear, I'm going to pull, basically I got the Rasmussen springs. So I think I'm going to take those, put those on the rear, and then maybe eventually do the torsion springs. I think I'm going to do it in stages. So I know I want a stiffer front spring, so I'm going to try that, see how it rides.
Yeah.
And then maybe lengthen the limiter strap one.
Yep.
So, but I think I'm just going to take this spring setup and put that on, possibly on that track. That's what we did on the 146. It has that cut. I had to make a custom retainer ring. So may need to make a new one of those, or use the one off of that. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah. So we got to move some sleds around, I guess. Hey, Tony, for once, it's pretty cool. You're stealing parts off a sled that's not Lee's.
But I'm still stealing parts.
Yeah, so we're just taking these shocks off.
I'm only stealing half my own parts.
Yeah.
Oh.
There you go. Let's see if those fit on there before we take the other one off, huh?
Yeah. I think you gotta do something here.
Yeah. All right, we'll check it out. All right, Tony's got the first one on.
Literally all you have to do is basically grind a flat section. And we'll show you here.
All right, so this is what Tony had to do to get it to fit in. Just have to grind off this part here, so it clears the A-arm.
Just make it flat.
Yeah, we'll show it when it's done. All right, so that's how much Tony took off.
I feel like I took off a little more than the other side, but like you got a little thin right there, but that's just to hold the...
Yeah, that's fine. And then he took off his sway bar. He's taking off his sway bar. Like
that.
I think it's all right. Because the force is all going the other way. So.
Look at you!
What?
Getting all smart.
Mr. Mathematic. And then...
check this out. These are called Poor Man's Paint Touch-Up.
Wow. Did you learn this in the hood?
This is called Alabama Blackout.
All right, bam. And we'll throw that in. I'll come over and show you over here. We got the Rasmussen shocks in the front of the 146. And yeah, we're gonna get back to Tony's stuff. But yeah, I got those on there. I got the, oh, this is cool too. We got the bumper back and powder coated from powder coating. Because you remember Tony broke our other bumper twice.
I also made the bumper.
He made this bumper. So yeah,
You breaky, you makey.
Yeah, so this sled.
Sick though, look. 146, in case you didn't know.
This is a pretty rad sled.
Yeah, this is a super rad sled.
So, yeah, we're gonna.
One day that sled will probably look like that sled because I dig the yellow. I don't know why.
I do too.
Awesome.
I mean, it would be hard to get the running boards done, but
yeah, no running boards, but I could do.
You do the pyramid, you do the spindles, bumpers.
I could do the rails.
Rails.
Yeah, basically do everything except.
Oh, probably not the bars though, huh? Well, those are the same bars though, aren't
bars, they? Yeah, they just. I had to mask off this section and then powder coat everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet sled. Anyways, I'll throw the covers back on and put this guy back waiting for snow. Okay, so just talking about the Salsa King. You can get these from Brett Rasmussen. So I'm going to show you a slow motion of me flipping these, because like I'll do it now, and you can't really tell. Like, oh, they're about the same, but the slow-mo will show how much less ski jiggle you're getting with this. Rebound.
Go.
The biggest thing is, here's the difference in the ski rubbers, right? This is the stock one, this is the Salsa King. There's so much more rubber here, you're not going to blow this out like you will these.
And by blowout, we mean like this squeezes out, and then you're
Yeah.
left with no rubber. And we can show you what that looks like on my old sled.
Yeah, or this will just rip, or it like, yeah, it's just, there's so much more here, and yeah, they're good.
And you can run the ski in any position and
yeah.
be on the full rubber versus that's only in the middle, and then you're on a small section.
Yeah. So, yeah, these are really great. So you see here, like, the ski rubber should be out here, and it's all back in the back here. Here, let's take the back one off so I can take it up. Let's see. See how it's just kind of barely in there? So that ski rubber needs to be replaced. So when I put these on, I always wonder, oh, am I putting it on the right way? It will only go on one way. You see there's a knob there and there's an inlet there. The biggest thing is this V, or Y, I guess. And that just goes to the front. There's kind of a Y in here. You just kind of slide it past those two little bushings and fit it in. You got it. All right, we're pulling the front shock of the skid out. So, yeah, it's really just taking some bolts out, and we're taking the preload off because it is putting a lot of pressure on this bolt. So, just take the preload off and get this out, and we'll kind of show you what Tony's doing with it. All right, Tony, what are you doing here? What's
I should
happening?
have peeled off that warning sticker because it says "Do not disassemble." My bad. No, but turns out this worked out perfectly.
Yeah. Oh.
Took the Rasmussen springs. These are like stainless steel springs, but it's a progressive spring. So it goes from like 400 pounds to 600 pounds. You can see how this changes. So as the stroke changes, it basically is like more like an air shock. It ramps up. And then you got this tender spring. So ideally what these are for is so you can run a lower preload. And this kind of takes, like this is much softer.
Right.
So you can run a smaller, you can almost run no preload by preloading this. Like, putting a 1/2 inch or 1 inch of preload, it goes into this spring versus this spring. And then that will bottom out relatively quick. So from this point to that point is where it bottoms out. So you get
Does that take like all the chatter out, like smaller things?
well, it just keeps this from backing off.
Oh, okay.
Because what will happen if you run really low preload, what could happen is that the spring could unseat itself. So you
Okay.
have to run a certain amount of preload. But it looks like, yeah, it's like 7/8 of an inch before of travel. So I can take that down a little bit. And basically this will run. So right now, yeah, we got 3/4. So 3/4 of an inch before it bottoms out and fully goes on this.
Okay.
So it'll be like a pretty quick ramp up. And turns out that this is the right, we don't have to make a new one. Had to make a new one for the 146.
And that's just this
this-
piece.
Yeah, the spring retainer actually fits this diameter spring. And the upper fits as well, so
Sweet.
It's a quick swap over. But, you know, I don't know what kind of performance you get really in the shock itself. I think you get more performance in the spring.
Yeah, with those type of shocks,
Because the valving is probably the same.
Yeah.
You just can't rebuild these.
You can rebuild this one.
This one can be rebuilt. This
Can't
one's
rebuild
not
that one.
rebuilt. This is not KYB. This is just their. So I think they only give you about KYB front shocks.
Oh, not the rear.
Yeah, the rear is all Skidoo.
Skidoo built shocks.
Yeah. This rear shock is actually pretty good though, because it has your high and low speed that you can adjust.
Yeah.
And this one is rebuildable. But this is also a Skidoo shock. Otherwise it would say KYB all over it.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, the reason I didn't just put that shock in there because the new suspension is a 1/2 inch long. They added a 1/2 inch of travel. So each shock is a 1/2 inch longer. So I didn't want to put.
Well, they changed a lot of the mounting points in the G5.
Yeah. So like, yeah, the shocks themselves, this is a 1/2 inch longer eye to eye than that shock. So,
nice.
yeah, we'll put this back in and
wait, is this it? Are we done after this?
yeah, for today.
Sweet.
Pretty sure. I'm not gonna do the torsion springs yet. I think I'm gonna wait on those.
See how it rides.
Yeah, I want to see how it rides. And maybe step 2.
Step 2.
Phase 2 would be those.
But yeah, for phase 1 of this sled, that'll be done, right?
I think she's ready to ride. She just goes back in.
We just need snow, right?
Yeah, just need some snow.
It'd be nice.
And the 146 is ready to go. We don't have to touch, we put the. So maybe phase 3 would be, I could try those shocks on there.
Phase 4 would be getting the shocks I have.
Yeah. I think I like the way the air shocks ride more than I like those.
Yeah, me too. Those are great shocks. Don't get me wrong, if you're a coilover guy.
Yeah, it's like super soft up front. It doesn't ramp up. It kind of it's like soft ramps. The way he describes it is like a digressive spring rate. The way this works, it doesn't work like a normal tender spring. So, like you're riding, like one of these is locked out until you reach a certain thing, and then they go together. And then when you put 2 springs together, so if you take a 100-pound spring, a single 100-pound spring takes 100 pounds of force to move it 1 inch. If you take 2 100-pound springs and stack them, it takes 50 pounds of force to move it 1 inch. Because each spring only has to move, it takes 50 pounds to go a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch. So it's weird. You gotta wrap your head around it. But when you stack springs, you reduce the spring rate significantly. Like, so 100 over 100 is 50 pounds. So the idea here is this is locked out. When this travels a certain amount, then it decouples that lockout and then puts them together. So you go like stiff and then like softer and then stiff. So like air shock is progressive. So if you look at the spring rate, it goes like a hockey stick. It like infinitely gets stiffer. Regular spring is linear, right? So it's the same rate. So for every inch you move it, it moves whatever, 100 pounds. So that 2 inches, it's 200 pounds. 3 inches, it's 300 pounds. Where a progressive spring would go, okay, 1 inch takes 100 pounds. At 2 inches, it might take another 150 pounds. So you're at 250. And then at 3 inches, you could be at like 500 pounds. So it ramps up rather quick.
Okay.
So the way this works is they're all linear, but the graph looks like this, and then it flattens out, and then it always gets stiffer, but that spring rate changes. And the rate is the angle of the graph, x over y. So you go like, starts out like this, then it gets shallower, and then it gets stiff again. It took me forever to figure this out.
Yeah.
And I finally did. I almost made my own, and then I just said screw it. And it's basically the way these spacers all work, and how it's crazy how it locks out, and then it's a kind of ingenious. But I don't know if I necessarily like it. I like it just stiff all the way through.
Yeah.
I don't like that feeling of it like diving.
Well, and like my shocks that I have it's got the 3 clickers. From middle, it's like 30% down and 30% up from middle.
So like what you're doing on that is you're changing your spring rate. So like it's like a small hockey stick, and then a medium hockey stick, and then a big hockey stick.
Yep.
And by doing that, you're changing the valving.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you can do with air shocks. Like on mountain bikes, you can add, they call them like air spacers. So it's all based on the volume and how much you compress that air in the volume. So if you put a volume spacer in there, you're getting the same amount of travel, but you're reducing the area the space for the air. So then you change that rate, you can heavily increase the rate. And that's essentially what that's doing.
Yeah.
Because the air flows through that. There's oil in there and there's air. So I don't know if they're doing it with air or if you're doing it with oil. But there's 2 ways you control a shock: is change the orifice that the oil goes through, or the air chamber size. So it could just be like, as you turn it, like a spacer goes up.
Yeah. It opens up a hole bigger or something. Cool. Well, we'll get...
There's a shock 101.
Yeah. 102 will be next week.
Tune in somewhere else. I was gonna say, for the doctorate, you gotta tune in somewhere else.
It is late. Tony had to take off, but we finished his sled. His suspension is done. Turning down the heater. Good day building sleds. This thing's gonna be a monster in the backcountry. So check it out. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. I appreciate everybody hanging out, chatting with us, learning about suspension. I just really appreciate everybody watching the videos and subscribing and participating in everything. It's just cool. So we'll see you every Wednesday and Saturday. Have a good one.